everybody. I'm Adam.
I'm Stephanie.
And we're here from theeclecticgamer.com to review Sentinels of the Multiverse. Ooh. Not in front of Stevie's face. It is a cooperative card game by Candelabra Games for, I guess you can play this for 1 to 5 players. And it's a pretty neat game. So the way it works is it's all cards, and each hero character, you have to have at least 3 to 5. So if you're playing with 1 or 2 people, you still have to have multiple heroes each. And each hero is represented by a deck of cards. And you fight against a villain who's also represented by a deck of cards. And you fight in an environment which is also represented by
a deck of cards.
Yeah. And the turns are pretty easy. You can play 1 card, you can use a power on one of your cards that's out, and then you can draw another card. And obviously these cards let you put more cards into play, or maybe draw more cards, or do all sorts of crazy stuff. All the heroes are different. And the villain does the same thing. You do everything his cards say, and you play a card for him every turn. Same with the environment. And these are not the superheroes you may be familiar with. They're all original heroes from Candelabra. Some of them are kind of similar to ones you may be familiar with. Like, the Wraith is basically female Batman. Right?
Yeah.
Sound about right?
Among others. I think there's more variety in the Sentinels heroes than there are in the comic book heroes. Cool. Variety of backgrounds, that is.
Oh, yeah, totally. But that's basically how Sentinels Multiverse played. Now we're going to kind of go over some of the things that you may like or dislike about it, and let you know what you think. So at theeclecticgamer.com, we have a rating system which strives to not just say this game is a 7, and everyone will think it's a 7, but to customize the review for your tastes. Now, in order to know how to review this game for you, we have to know what you like. And so we have a whole list of attributes that you fill out, and you say, I like that, I don't like that, I hate that, I love those games like that. And then based on those attributes, we give you a customized score. So you can go there really easily. It's tegratings.com, tegratings.com, and start filling it out, and you can get a review for Sentinels of the Multiverse. And if you love Sentinels of the Multiverse and you think you can create a great game profile for it to help other people find it, or any of the other games we have listed, you can create your own game profiles and become part of the community ratings. Did I miss anything about that?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Well, let's start talking about some of the attributes that we feel that this game has, so you can see if you would like it. What's first, Steph?
Okay, so as we already talked about, the rules of the game are very simple. It's draw a card. Well, sorry. It's play a card.
Use a power.
Draw a card for the heroes. Then you play a card from the environment, and you do whatever the environment cards say, and then you play a card from the villain, and you do whatever the villain cards say. So the rules are simple. However, all the different actions in the game can be complex because all of the cards introduce new things that are all listed on the cards, so you don't have to remember what they are.
Yeah, like the actual rules you're playing are super quick. We already explained them, and everything else is just reading and doing what the cards say. Every once in a while there's a little ambiguity, but the rule book is like 4 or 5 pages long. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is every time a new expansion comes out, they don't have to teach you new rules. They don't have to add new rules. They just say, here's a deck of cards, and it's got its own rules on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like simple rules, that might be for you. But if you want something a little meatier and more complex, it actually might be a downside.
Yeah, it might be. I think that if you... something we can talk about later. There's a lot of variety to it, and each deck plays differently. So if you want something meatier, trying all the different combinations can provide that. But if you just like having very complex rules with complex strategy, then yeah, this might not be the game for you.
Because there's only so much they can do with play a card, use a power, draw a card, and they do a lot. But if you want something that has maybe a more in-depth feel for your superhero game, you might need something else.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned this briefly, but another attribute this game has is it's a cooperative game, and it has all the pluses and minuses that come with that. Some people love cooperative games because you're not playing against other people. It has a sense of camaraderie. You all win or lose together, so no one's happier or sadder. But some people don't like it because you sometimes you have the runaway leader, or like the bossy leader problem,
mm-hmm.
where someone says, well, you should play this and you should play this, and then I'll play that and you play that, and all of a sudden it's really just 4 people holding cards with 1 person playing a game.
Yeah, I think that happens a little less in this game than in other co-op games, because each deck is played differently and you don't know what everybody has in their hand, so you can't say you need to do this particular thing because you don't know you can't say that to another person because you don't even know if they can do that particular thing. And because there's so many different decks, it's hard to keep track of what everybody is doing. So it makes it, I think, a little more challenging for somebody to oversee everything.
Yeah, so in my game profile for this game, I gave as I said, if someone likes co-op, they get +2 to this, and if they love it, they get +3 to their score, because again, the score is out of 10 on our site. But for hate and dislike, I only put a -1, because I feel like a lot of people who dislike co-op games will actually like this game more than other co-op games. So if you like some basic co-op games like Pandemic or Forbidden Island or something like that, that's much easier to tell everyone what to do. This one makes it a lot harder, and so I actually didn't give as much of a penalty for co-op games as I do for other co-op games.
Interesting.
That's one of the things you can do on the site. It's kind of cool. So we mentioned this a couple times, but the game has a ton of variety.
Yeah, so just in the base game alone, I think you get 10 heroes, 4 villains, 4 environments, and you mix those all together to create one game. So in addition to having a lot of variety, you can also customize exactly which decks you want to play with. But if you add together all the expansions, I think you're up to like 25-ish heroes in 25-ish villains, and 15 environments. And some of them are related to others. For example, the Omnitron is one of the villains that's in the base game, who then you can play him as a hero in a Terminator 2-esque situation later. And you can also play like inside of a decrepit old Omnitron unit as an environment later.
Yeah, they really milked that one.
They did. And also, in addition to the decks, you can also get promo cards which alter the base power and stats of heroes. So it's the same deck, it's just a different base card to start with.
Yeah, every card starts with.
Provides.
Explain the powers.
Sure. So every hero starts with a base card that has their hit points on it and their base power. And then if a character dies, on the back of the card, it also lists the powers that they can use while they're dead. And the promo cards will alter what those base cards are. In some cases, the promo characters play very differently than the original characters. So that provides even more variety and customization.
Yeah. So we actually there's 2 attributes we have that we distinguish between. One is games with lots of variety. This definitely has that because there's all the sorts of things you can do. We also say customizable, where some games, it's always the same set of things you're doing in the game, but there's lots of variety within that. And some are customizable, where you can say, well, I'm going to play with this and this and this time. And this has both of those. They kind of go together. That's why we talked about them together. But yeah, there's a lot of it. This is huge for variety and customization. And the last one I was going to talk about in depth before we go on to the rest, which are just like some bullet points we're going to hit, is I think it's a climactic game. And you don't think it's as climactic as I do, but this is one
It
of the
depends on how difficult the game is.
That's true.
We've played a lot of games where we just sort of decimated, we played it way too easy, and we decimated the villain like halfway through the game. And then we played other ones where like we have no hope of even winning. And in both of those cases, it didn't feel totally that climactic to me.
That's true. I might not put a huge score on this one, but we define climactic games as games that tend to end in a big climactic moment where everyone's, wants to see what's happening. You're not sure if you're going to win or lose. And I think this happens a good amount in this game, especially when you get to customize it for difficulty.
Yeah.
So there's some sites out there that tell you how difficult a different specific combination will be. But one of the things this game does, Stephanie mentioned in the promo cards, is that when your character dies, you're not out of the game. So there's no player elimination. But on your turn, you flip your card over to the dead side, and you have a couple things you can do. So you can say, I can allow that other hero to use his power. And so it's like your character's dead, but you're still inspiring someone to go on, and you're still helping. And so we've had a couple games where you will well, he's gonna have to die, and then you can do this, and then he'll die.
Sacrifice a couple of people for the sake of the group.
And he's like, "That's the only way we can win." And it comes down to this big thing. And even though it's like a couple decks of cards, it feels climactic, and that happens at least half the time, I think. Especially if you start playing some of the more difficult villains and things. But yeah, it's. I think you can get climactic, and it's pretty fun. So some of the bullet points here we're going to hit. We say this is a game where randomness plays a significant factor. You're drawing cards from a deck. You don't know what you're going to draw. The cards aren't equally powerful. If you draw 3 of the villain destroys a bunch of stuff, or a villain destroys all your equipment, right after you got all your equipment all set, it can just randomness can affect it. But at the same time, that's a good thing for some people, because some people don't like it where it's always deterministic and you don't know what's going to happen. So this allows you to have some sort of surprises to come up. It is definitely a strategy game. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, even if you're doing it with other people. So if you like trying to figure out and strategize and work with your friends, it's great for that. I think it has a strong theme. It's not licensed superheroes, but they have put a ton of work into these characters. They're really cool.
They all have their own backstories, and as I mentioned before, they're much more diverse, I think, than regular comic book characters are. I really enjoyed that there was a number of female superheroes.
There's a lot of female characters.
There were a bunch that had like special like different cultural backgrounds.
Yeah,
they
true.
had different some of them have like I remember my first character that I played, she had Asperger's, which
true.
I thought actually worked. It made so much sense within the context of her deck and how
That's
she
true.
played. So I really like that not only do they have different backgrounds, but a lot of them they're then those are incorporated into the to the decks and into the different things that you would do each turn.
True. I said this was a consistent game. That's something we define. Consistent versus inconsistent is something we've made up for this site to try to identify the idea that if you play the game multiple times, can you get better at it? And will someone who's played a number of times do better at it than someone who's just learning to play? So inconsistent games, you're kind of just like, oh, well, I did the strategy I did before, but it just didn't work because of whatever reason. So this seems consistent, because if you play a character a couple times and you just play the game a couple times, you'll kind of know, you're like, oh, this is how this works. I should do this. I should wait for this. I need to look for this power.
Yeah.
And I think you can get better at it.
Yeah,
right?
you can.
We're so much better at it than when we first started.
As you start to learn the decks, it definitely becomes easier.
Yeah, so it's consistent if that's something you're looking for. This game can be played solo, so if you're liking solo games, it's a plus. It's not really, it doesn't look like it's been designed to play solo. If you play solo, you have to play with multiple characters, so it's not going to, it being able to be played solo is not going to impugn your ability to enjoy it otherwise, so don't worry about that. And it is a card game. We're talking about the physical components. To some people, just playing with a deck of cards is not great. That's not something they, it's not tactile enough for them, or they don't like the way it looks on the table. But some people like the portability and the ease and the simplicity of it. So depending on how you feel about card games, that can impact what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that is Sentinels of the Multiverse. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Well, in case you thought we would leave you dry and not tell you what we think of the game, the site gives us both 10s for this game, which is one of the reasons we're doing it for a review.
Yeah.
The top of my list for the reasons it gives it to me is because I love co-op games. I like games with a lot of variety. I like consistent games. I love games with a strong theme, and I like games with simple rules. Stephanie's is a little different.
I apparently like customizable games, strategy games, and climactic games. So
you also love co-op games.
And I do love co-op games and like games with variety. So this ticks those boxes for me.
Yeah. So it gave us 10s. I think that was spot on. It's definitely a 10 for us. This is one of our favorite games now.
Yeah. Is in my top 5 probably.
Yeah. So, but that is Sentinels of the Multiverse. So, go to tegratings.com, fill out your game attributes, and you can see what our site and our game profiles give you for Sentinels of the Multiverse, and see if you'll like it. There's also dozens of other games there you can check out. And if you like the system and the video, you can go to tegratings.com as well, sign up for an account, and you can start creating game profiles for your favorite games and help and add those to the community ratings. Maybe if you can get some games that we don't play. We play a lot of co-op games. We don't play as many competitive games. We need some help there. You can subscribe here on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitch. We play board games live on Twitch. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. What else am I missing, Steph? I think that's all.
Visit the site.
And visit the site, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'm Adam.
Stephanie.
Thanks for watching.